Hi, I'm Dynasty Chef Steve, and this is the Sunday IDP Live, a proud partner of the Full-Time Fantasy Podcast Network.
Welcome, IDP fantasy football fans. My name is Gary, a.k.a. the IDP tipster via Twitter.
What's up? Good morning. Well, morning for us. Well, it's probably not for you guys, but Jordan Rains here, the other IDP tipster. You can find me on Twitter at 50 Shades of Drunk. We got some preseason week 1 games, some hype to sift through with you guys, some news. Happy to be here. We got Steve behind the scenes working for us. He changed his Twitter handle recently to at Dynasty Chef Steve. So go follow him. He's awesome. He's always, helping us get set up. The Dynasty Chef Steve. Okay, there's your guy. Oh, no Steve, just the Dynasty Chef. Sorry, but yeah, go follow him. He's awesome. he's always getting us set up every morning and every day when we do this. So just wanted to give him a little shout out. But guess we'll just jump right into the news. It's Saturday morning when we're recording this. So last night the big deal was, everybody's freaking out. Devin Bush, rookie linebacker for the Steelers, had 10 tackles last night in the first half. So IDP Twitter's aflame. I'm aflame. I have him on my dynasty team. Steve's aflame. He has him. Gary, you're not aflame though. Tell us why you're not in flames.
Well, it's kind of, it's preseason. It is definitely been an odd preseason first week, first few games. Mm-hmm. I just want to pump the brakes a little bit. I want to see Devin Bush out there playing with a full complement of players around him, and him to be playing with the big boys instead of being the only big boy out there. He definitely, I've seen some of the highlights. I read a lot about it. I didn't get to catch the game. And, the guy's deserving of what he got. I just don't want people to overreact and think that they've got the next Darius Leonard on their hands, automatically. I just think that, you've got to keep an open mind about this whole situation. In the end, when you have T.J. Watt out there and you have the rest of the complement of Hayward and the defensive line, and they're rolling, I think that those opportunities of getting 10 tackles in one half aren't going to be there as, consistently. Yeah. He's in a prime spot. We already know from Shazier being there, if anybody's got any speed, any talent whatsoever in the middle linebacker spot, you're going to get production. And just pumping the brakes a little bit, want to see it. Third preseason game is the one that really counts. And then after that, it's the season in my eyes. And, he deserves it. He had a hell of a game. Just, temper your expectations yet. Let's, I make him earn it before I put him on my roster. So, yeah. But he definitely took a step forward, definitely is on the radar. Of course, out of all the rookies, when we've talked about him in the past, I did like him over White and for the Bucs just by scheme. So, if I had to take a rookie, he would have probably been the guy to begin with. But, yeah. Just pumping the brakes.
Yeah, I think he's, I like to hop on hype trains a little bit. I won't lie. I've been on his hype train. I got him in the third round of my startup dynasty draft, the first one that I did this year. And I was excited, everyone was all on White. And I was, someone took White in front of me. So I took Bush because I had kind of weak linebacker core. But I'm very excited now. I know it's only one half. I know it's preseason. I know he's probably tackling guys that won't be on the other team next, in a couple of weeks. But still, to see a guy go out there and in a preseason game put up 10 tackles, nobody else has done that. And we've had a dozen preseason games so far. So it's definitely worth noting. He's an All-American, Michigan Wolverine, Harbaugh football, college football. He's on a good team, good defense. So he seems like he's exactly what he was advertised to be so far. Maybe he won't be the next Darius Leonard, but I guess we'll have to see. So,
it's
I'm
interesting.
excited.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, a lot of people should be, and anybody that was reaching for White over Bush, that's almost crazy. So that was really cool for you. I mean,
that draft took place like 3 days after the actual NFL draft. So I mean, nothing had really shaken out. It was all just kind of like take your stabs. So
right. Well, I mean, it would have been clear to me personally just by defensive scheme, but either way, that's cool. Bush is. He's something they've sorely needed since Shazier got hurt. They didn't have it last year with Bostic and stuff. So you're definitely looking, as long as he stays healthy and he stays on the field, you're still looking at a top 15 productive guy. I just, just to think that he's going to pull off 160 or 165 combined tackles or something is just, I don't know. If I was going to bet against it, I would go with the under. Yeah,
160 is pretty high, but we'll just have to see. So,
right.
We got some more news here for everybody, IDP lovers. Vita, I say Vea, but I've heard Vita Vea. I've heard Vita Vea. Anyway, D tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Apparently, he sprained his LCL this last week in camp. That's the bad news. The good news is it's supposed to only be a 4 to 5 week recovery. So he should be, in theory, back on their defensive line by week 1. So, just something to monitor. Bucs defensive line's already in trouble, missing JPP, losing McCoy. So they don't need to lose this guy. So that's kind of a piece of news there. I don't know if you have any comment on that or not, Gary.
It's unfortunate that this has happened again in the preseason because I'm kind of looking through. I'm pretty sure that this is the same scenario that happened to him last year. Mm-hmm. And this guy is like a physical freak for his size. He was one of the better rated rookies coming out defensive tackle. If I remember right, this guy can do he's like 300 and some pounds, can do a backflip or something, or did it in college. He's just don't quote me on that. I could have swore that's the rumor I heard. Mm-hmm. But he is a physical freak, and considering the opportunity that he has this year and the same things going on, I'm kind of looking here as we talk. But I could have swore that he had started out last year with either a hammy or an ankle injury, which kind of hampered his development for the first few games. And I mean, he didn't like blow it up last year when the expectations were that he was going to be a bigger piece. He ended a year with 28 tackles, only 3 sacks.
Wasn't a ton.
Right. So this is concerning. I mean, the guy needs to stay healthy. Yeah. And when you look at their depth chart, I did see your guy, Nassib. He had a pretty good productive game. I think he had a tackle for a loss and a sack.
Did he?
Yeah, I believe I seen that this morning.
Nice. I haven't got a chance to go through and look at that game fully yet, but
right. But I mean, when you look at it, they're missing JPP, and you're William Golston and Noah Spence, which have never worked out. They're listed on the depth chart up early for their defensive ends. This Bo Allen, he might be an intriguing guy. I can't remember where he came from, but he was with them last year, and he was supposed to have a bigger role, but it didn't quite work out. So I think they found out they had something good in Nassib. Right now, the only guy you can probably even trust is Shoe, and grab you some Nassib. Yeah. Just Vita starting out again this year like that. You can't plan on him. That's for sure. Not at the moment.
Injuries, they tend to linger. Or you never you're a little uncomfortable on it. You'll play, but it definitely hampers play style and makes you a little bit, a little bit more hesitant.
Tentative.
I feel like, tentative, hesitant. All those are good words to describe, because you don't want to re-injure it, but you don't want to let your teammates down. So it's a delicate balance whenever you got something like that going on.
Right.
But we got keep scrolling through this news here. I got a small blurb. Robert Quinn, he's got a 2-game suspension apparently for violating the NFL's, very vague, sort of all-encompassing substance abuse policy where, I think he's appealing it. Steve was saying before we came on that it has something to do with a seizure medication that he was taking, and apparently it was contaminated. But, we know that the NFL, if I had to put money on it, I'd say the NFL is not going to overturn it. He's still going to face 2 games.
Yeah, the odds are they're not going to back down whatever the situation is going to be, because of the fact that if they do it for him, then they have to do it for everybody else.
Yeah.
And not taken away from Quinn, but everybody else that cries wolf about something they've done wrong. So hopefully that works out for him. Who knows? Maybe it'll work out in his favor somehow. And when you look at that team, they've got Crawford's hurt, Woods is hurt, Taco's hurt, DeMarcus Lawrence is hurt. Yeah, there's. The only thing I see coming out of this whole situation is Smith and Van Der Esch are going to eat.
Murder, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have all kinds of sloppy seconds plus their first dish. They're going to get a lot of work.
They're both eyeing monster years, and they both had monster years last year. I think they could both do better even than last season, which is insane, but definitely. I really think they could.
Definitely.
Yep. All right, moving on. This is a small piece of, kind of small. Robert Nkemdiche. We talked about him 2 weeks ago. Cardinals cut him because he has a myriad of issues. But Miami picked him up, which is where Robert Quinn actually used to play last year. Now he's with the Cowboys, but Nkemdiche joins the defensive line in Miami. I don't know. I have to think that he could be a possible cut candidate, even though they just got him, just because of all of his issues with his other team, all of his on and off field issues. But Miami's defensive line is not great, to say it nicely. So, he suddenly might be the best piece on that defensive line. So maybe he does carve out a little bit of a role there. What do you think about that going into this year? For IDP purposes, I don't really want him. If I'm in a super deep league and there's nobody and I'm scouring waivers, maybe I'll take him and hope that something happens, but I'm not overly excited.
I got to be honest. I give him a 50-50 shot at even making the final roster personally. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting here looking at their depth chart. I don't think that. I don't think he's got a hell of a chance. I think he's a camp body maybe, or they're just bringing him in to see. It would have been more interesting to me if somebody like Bruce Arians and Tampa Bay brought him in, and it makes you wonder what happened there. I'm not sure where they were in the pecking order, picking up somebody off waivers, or if he was just completely bypassed and then signed. But if Arians passed on the guy that he drafted in 29th in the first round, I might have been a little bit more interested in seeing what was going on there. But overall, I'm not excited for any of this.
Yeah, I feel you. And I agree. I'm not really. Miami's kind of a mess. But I guess while we're speaking of Miami, they had a preseason game. I saw Jerome Baker. Again, it's week 1. Seemed like he was their main dude out there for their linebacker core. I've been staying up on that. Yeah, he got the most production. He seems like the only guy that is going to be out there. It seems like, and Kiko Alonso, but even it seems like, I don't know, I feel like there's just some weird vibes from Kiko Alonso in general. Maybe that's just the IDP community. I hear a lot of he's not a great football player. I watched an interview with him the other day, and he seems like, he doesn't seem like he's overly bright. He seems like he just wants to hit people. He's very rudimentary.
Go get
I
the
could be
ball.
wrong on that. Yeah.
Go get the ball. Give me the
Like
ball.
the guy that was interviewing him was kind of like trying to have, some joke or innuendo, and it looks like it was completely going over his head.
Right. I missed that one. That would have been cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been keeping track of this with Baker and McMillan and Alonso. Alonso and McMillan have missed some practice time. They have some forms of injury. The camp reports are that they're being held out just by precaution, which has given Jeremy Baker a lot of playing time, the green dot. He's basically the next man up. And, originally I was expecting coming into this year that it would be McMillan and Baker show. And I still think that it possibly could end up that way. Alonso's, whatever his IQ is, he's still on the field. He is productive. He doesn't grade out well when it comes to a lot of things, but he has been a solid piece. So he's, right now, I think that if I was drafting, I would go look at Baker and McMillan definitely. Hopefully McMillan will be able to get his coverage down a little bit better than what he did the first year back from that ACL injury. So, but yeah, Baker is just lighting it up down there right now. On this subject about Miami, I heard that now I might be completely wrong, but I could have swore that I heard that Fitzpatrick was not even listed as a starter. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. I saw on their first official depth chart, he was second behind, I think it was McCain or something.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely shook me up a little bit. And I know it did some other people as well in the community. And I saw in the game, I didn't see any in the box score. I didn't see anything from him. So I don't know if they played him, if they sat him, why they did whatever they did, why he didn't do anything. I don't know.
Well, this is a perfect opportunity to bring up the whole fact. This preseason, nothing. This is all penciled in lightly with everything. So, I mean, if you're a Fitzpatrick owner, personally, I'm suggesting you set on him. And if you think that somebody's flipping out, or if you see somebody drop him, he's definitely worth picking up. Yeah. I wouldn't be too concerned about it just yet. Let's get around that third preseason game when they traditionally put out all your starters for at least half the game, and get them in there as a group, and we'll see where he lands. This Bobby McClain's out of the blue. I don't get that.
I don't either. I mean, my hope, my prayer is that they're holding him out because he's too much of a stud and they don't want to risk him getting hurt. So that's what I'm telling myself as I go to sleep at night.
Well, we do know that there's supposed to be a new culture in Miami, and that is the fact that they've hired the former defensive coordinator from New England, and they've been having problems down in Miami for quite some time, just in general with the attitude of the players and stuff. So maybe this is a statement we just don't know about, that, he's that coach, I can't remember his name, is just going to make him earn it, because he's already stated that he's taking that Bill Belichick state of mind down there to try to clean house. So, maybe he's just trying to get Fitzpatrick's attention. Maybe, not take it for granted.
There aren't a lot of defensive players that I would claim to know a lot about or anything like that. But I actually, last year when Minka was getting drafted, I actually did pay a lot of attention to him. This was before I even was really into IDP. And he's super humble, super smart, super chill dude. He's really good at football. I can't imagine that he would have any sort of... I would imagine that he was probably one of their most mature, better players, honestly. So I don't, like you said, it's preseason, week 1, new team, new everything. Who the heck knows what's going on?
Right.
I still think he's, like you said, this might be a good time to just go get him in a value dip. Somebody might be scared off. I don't know, but I think that he's still going to be worthy of rostering. Obviously, I think that he's going to be fine. I think that they're testing out what they have. I know that they seem to have several decent safeties and secondary guys. So, Maybe they want to throw out some of these other guys and really see what they're made of too, and get a full inventory of what they're working with. So.
Oh yeah, they're going to have to. We talked about this before we started doing this pod. The cut date's the 31st, and that's the final cut date. So they're going to start weeding some of these guys out probably this week and start making some roster moves, bring in some other guys or whatever they're going to do so that they can figure out their best case scenario for the beginning of the season. So we can't, a lot of people are getting a lot of looks. Their studs are, if your player did not play in these preseason games, if you have a good player on your roster and don't freak out just because he didn't play. There's a reason. They don't want him getting hurt. So they're testing out everybody else. Everybody, like just this, the Fitzpatrick thing, just pump the brakes, hang in there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. All right, well, let's go to our next segment. This is the rookies with high ankle sprains segment. No, I'm just kidding. But it really is, though. We'll talk about Nick Bosa, I think number 3 overall pick, right? Number 2, number 3. I've been hearing, like I said, Minkah Fitzpatrick and Nick Bosa. I heard about him 3 years ago before I was really into IDP, because apparently, he's the chosen one. He was the anointed one. He's coming. He's coming.
Right.
I've been hearing this for years and years, and apparently, he had a tight hamstring. We talked about him on this segment a couple of weeks ago. He was held out pretty much all of the offseason training camp stuff, all of OTAs. And now, this last week, I don't know if it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day it was, he rolled his ankle. He's got a high ankle sprain. This is not exciting news. I mean, he's not even really playing football yet, and he's hurt himself twice. This is with, without pads on to some degree with the hamstring thing. This is in a safe environment, and this guy's getting banged up. That's not exciting news for anybody. I know we had DFF Hollywood on here a couple weeks ago, and I know he says that the Bosa brothers are cursed, and he said it's kind of like a quiet, dirty little secret, but he thinks that they're cursed. He thinks that they'll never really get a full season in. They're always going to be, like these guys where they're the white whale, the unicorn. Like, what if we got 16 full games out of one of these guys?
Right.
What would that look like? And that really, it kind of sucks because, like I said, I've heard about him for years, but it just seems like it's not trending well, and
right.
Unfortunate, it seems like the 49ers keep dumping high draft picks into their defensive line, and it seems like they keep not panning out, except for DeForest Buckner, which I'm huge on him. He's one of my guys coming into this year, and immediately one of the first things I saw from beat reporters after the injury to Bosa was, Buckner's basically lining up at defensive end all the time. He was before, but now he definitely is. So I think he's got a big year coming in, but it's unfortunate.
It would have been a lot better if Bosa could have stayed healthy. D Ford's banged up. Hopefully he's going to get
played at Ohio State, right?
Yeah, Bosa. Yes.
Yeah. You're a big Buckeyes fan, so you probably
him and Joe.
Well, you've probably been watching his career a long time.
Yeah, and I was sorely pissed last year. Excuse my language, but I was sorely pissed last year when Nick Bosa got hurt in a season that he could have really, really stood out. It wasn't the fact that he got hurt, but then he decided that, no, I'm just not going to play the rest of the season so that I can be a first round draft pick. I never thought Nick Bosa was as good as his brother, as a high state fan for all my life. So, the one thing that seems to be trending is that they are jinxed. We do see Joey Bosa playing through. And I don't know, Nick Bosa, is he going to be able to, what happens in 2 more weeks? And
exactly. What happens when he goes out there, his ankle's all taped up, and he still gets hurt,
And this is what just a month ago looked like one of the better defensive lines in that NFC. With Bosa, Ford, Buckner. Buckner, we've hit on him before. With adding Ford and Bosa, it should have improved his chances of being even more productive. if these guys are all banged up, everybody's kind of taking a step back, in my opinion. I mean, I still think Buckner will have the season he had last year, but the guy was like on the field for 95% of the snaps because they didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
And he was rotating from defensive end to defensive tackle. And, you put a guy like that out there, they're going to double team him. And if the rest of these studs aren't out there next to him, he's just got to fight off that many more. So
all that tells me is they need to pay Buckner. You know what I mean? Like he's producing. He's not hurt. I think he's played all 16 games all 3 years he's been in the league, if I'm not mistaken on that.
Yeah, and it's like he's missed much if he's missed any.
They're bringing in, D Ford. They're drafting Joey Bosa. It's like just show this man a little bit of love and a little bit of respect. I mean, he's out there. He's played. He started 15 games his rookie year, 16 and 16 last 2 years. He just averages, 67 tackles a season, I mean, give the guy, show him some love, pay the man. I know he had a tiny little bit of a contract dispute in the offseason. I know he's still on his rookie contract, but they weren't really sure that they were going to give him more money or whatever, or what they want to do with his contract. I mean, if anything, this just shows you need to pay this guy. Like, he's there, he's producing, he's not hurt, he's not drama.
He's an Iron Man.
Yeah, he's an Iron Man. He's a humble man. I mean, give this boy some money. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
I bet in the end they end up paying him. I mean, was it John Lynch? I think is the GM over there.
Yeah,
longtime defensive safety. They're probably going to pay him in due time.
Yeah,
they got a lot. They still. I don't care what they've done with signing Alexander. You have Warner and all these bright spots that happened last year for them in their process of losing. But man, they're still ways off. They're still building, and there's still a lot of questions on both sides of the ball, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Shanahan needs to. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, that they're still building, and they're still not where they need to be. I feel like they have the pieces. Things just aren't working out for them. I feel kind of bad for them overall, but everybody's got problems. So, the other rookie that had an ankle sprain was L.J. Collier, Seahawks. Apparently, he's going to be good to go though. Week 1, that is official. The official word is it was an ankle sprain that's a kind of a rare occurrence type. I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to say exactly what it was, but apparently like the top of his foot, which is uncommon, but it heals faster. So he should be in the clear. So there's not quite as much talk about with him. He's missing some, practice reps. He's missing some preseason, but he should be 100% week 1. So that's right. That's good. That's good for them. I think they dodged a bullet there.
They needed that, especially with Reed suspended.
Yeah.
They needed him in there.
Well, while we're on the Seahawks, apparently, Big Bobby Wags, he just got paid. Apparently, something's up with his knee. I don't know exactly what it was, but the exact nature of it, the blurb that I read was he's out indefinitely. So that word is not a fun word to read.
No.
With a platelet-rich injection. The exact quote is Pete Carroll said he had a little procedure done on his lower body. So I said knee, but I don't even think it's been officially said if it was his knee. It probably was, but that's not exciting.
No. I mean, Bobby Wagner
should be ready week 1. Procedure should be ready week 1. Bobby Wagner doesn't need the practice reps. That's for damn sure. But
Pete Carroll and the Seahawks are the Patriots of the NFC. They only put out so much news. They only trickle out what they want. They try to, they're a lot of hush hush stuff, and they're just Bill Belichick over here. Him and Pete Carroll just have this thing. I wouldn't be too concerned. If I was going to do anything, I would be looking at Michael Kendricks. We looked it up, and he doesn't go to court until September 25th. So if Bobby Wagner does miss the first couple of games, I would suspect that we'll see KJ Wright and Michael Kendricks out there, likely with Kendricks at the middle linebacker spot, picking up that production while Wagner gets his lower body in shape.
Figured out.
You can't really – I mean, Bob, if he's missing time on the practice field is not, and this is a long-time veteran. It'll take him like a week to get into game shape. So I'm not too concerned here until we get some more definite news coming out.
Yeah, let's find out. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it's an ankle, if it's a knee, if it's a hip. I mean, obviously, again, I'm going to just guess it's his knee, just based on the fact that that's where a pretty common injury spot, a lot of impact.
Right.
While we're, just tiny, this isn't even in something we had written down, but I thought since we're on the Seahawks, Marquise Blair, he's their first pick, or first or second pick. I don't remember if it was him or Collier they picked first. I think he was the second pick. But he played in the preseason. I know this OTAs, he had a hamstring, so people were a little bit worried about him, but he looked good in the preseason game. He looked exactly like he looked like at Utah. I mean, he laid a dude out and got a flag thrown, so that's pretty par for the course for him. Hopefully he can clean that up just a bit. Maybe not get so many penalties against him so the coach doesn't have to pull him off. But he looks like he might be a sleeper IDP stud for this season. So keep an eye on him. But anyway, like I said, that was kind of impromptu. But
well, he did light it up. I seen that this morning.
Yeah. Worth noting.
Yes.
We got some other news here. This is like IDP exclusive, news or really pertinent news. But Jadeveon Clowney, on most platforms, he's a defensive end, or allowed to. I know on Sleeper he has been. You can play him at defensive end on Yahoo. You could play him at defensive end or as a rusher on NFL. But I know on MFL they had him as a linebacker. Well, apparently this week he got his designation changed. So if you're on MFL and you've been, shy off of Clowney because of the linebacker tag, that has been updated as of a day or two ago. So that's pretty exciting news. Another viable defensive end to play.
Definitely.
And he's also, he's not really holding out, but he's on the tag, but he's not reporting to camp, he said, until the end of next week. So hopefully he's in, good shape and he's ready to get out there and rock and roll. Actually, now that I'm thinking that, small other piece, apparently J.J. Watt was a little bit banged up as well. I saw somewhere. I don't quote me on that because I'm not seeing an official piece of news on that. But I saw something on Twitter about something was tight. And he was cautionary. We're gonna take you out. Dirt. I mean, the drill. But that was my heart stopped just a little.
Yeah. So. He's a longtime vet until we hear something.
Yeah,
more,
exactly. They have to say why these guys aren't out there,
right.
He doesn't feel good, his belly hurts, whatever it may be.
They can have hangnails.
Yeah, exactly. They just have to have something. So,
right.
Let's see here. All right, let's go back to some linebackers. Another knee issue. Lavonte David. I think we might have talked about this last week, but I'm not 100% sure. But he had tiny tear in his meniscus. You know what that is. When your knees push together, there's this stuff that goes, there's a thing in between it. It's called your meniscus, so it doesn't rub. That thing takes a lot of impact. And apparently he had a little tiny tear in it, which essentially could just be a tiny little piece of it floating around in there, and it caused him some discomfort. So they went in, they took care of that. His timetable to return is 4 to 6 weeks. Kind of like you said with Bobby Wagner, it's probably going to take him a couple of days to get back into game shape. Mm-hmm. But, just something to monitor. If you have a surgery, you're always, it's always something to watch, make sure that everything went right and the recovery is also going right. So that's sort of the other rookie landed. The other Devin is Devin White. So maybe we'll see a little bit of a steam catching on with him this next week or two if he gets in the preseason. I don't think, did he play last night or 2 nights ago?
I think I didn't see much stats out of him. Nothing recognizable. I mean, considering that he's in the same game with Bush.
Yeah, exactly. So. I didn't see. Maybe they held him out. I didn't see any production out of him when I was looking at the box score. I just glanced at it, so I might have missed it. But
it seemed like the Devin or old Cardinal Kevin Mentor. Of course, I think he was also with Cincinnati last year too, and Buchanan show. So. That's what it looked like to me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So anyway, David, watch him. He's definitely got a year or two at least of stud production left in him. Now he's got somebody else on the field to compete with. You have to think that's going to make him elevate himself. That's going to be good for Bush to elevate himself. So they're going to be a good tandem this year.
Right.
We got a little more linebacker stuff. Baltimore, Kenny Young. We talked about him last week. It was kind of a little bit of a divide in the IDP community. Is it Kenny Young? Is it Patrick Onwuzurike? Now this Chris Board, I believe, guy is in the mix. I think we've pretty much decided Pat's going to be secure. Kenny Young looked pretty secure when he laid out that dude. He got a sack the other night. It was a pretty intense hit.
Yeah.
I know Twitter was in a complete disarray about it. I mean, people were hot and bothered. I mean, it looked good though. I won't lie. So
drove me nuts.
We're
I was
football
out
starved, but it was nice.
Right. It drove me nuts. I was out and about, so I didn't get to catch any of it as it happened. And I come in, and Twitter's all live with this stuff and showing these videos. And first thing I did was I didn't look at Young. I went and seen what happened to Chris Board. And
yeah, he didn't do anything.
I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything why he didn't play or why he did limited snaps or anything like this. And this falls right back into this whole preseason thing. So
yeah, he'll go out next week and have 12 tackles. So
right, and Young won't have
Young
that time.
Won't do a damn thing.
right. So yeah, Patrick is definitely there. I believe I don't know if he even played. I'm pretty
he did
sure.
A little. I think he had 3-ish tackles. I hope they're protecting him though.
Yeah, I would likely say that's the scenario there. But this whole Young, that video, I was reading the whole game reports and everything. Did you see how he was untouched and ran through?
Oh yeah,
and
he just flew through that line. I mean, the gap looked like a running back finding a perfect hole. I mean, he just
right. So where was Jacksonville's block? Was it a stunt? I mean, they run vanilla defenses right now, and I know that was a picture perfect hit. I know timing was just right, but in my opinion, when the first thing I seen it when he goes untouched was somebody blew their coverage. Somebody blew something. So as pretty as he looked, as he took dude's helmet off and laid him out, I mean, I think you could have put a fifth round or even an undrafted rookie, and if he would sit there and got that same opportunity, you just go shooting to the gap and nobody picks you up. You're going to look good, and as long as you wrap and take the guy down. So not to take away from Young, I still, it's early preseason here. Everybody is just grasping because we're on the verge of football, and highlights are highlights no matter what they are. But I mean, I'm not giving him an A+ on that whole play. If I'd seen him dip down, shred a block, and still kept that same kind of, or took out the running back and laid him out, fought through, then I would have been like, damn, did you see that? But as it is, it was kind of a Pee-wee league.
Yeah, it was almost too easy, but still, right. I mean, it felt good. I mean, I felt great watching it. Yeah. I watched a little interview after, and he said, he's like, when coach called the play up, he's like, all right, I got the call to rush. I got ready. He's like, I did it. He's like, I just knew. He's like, when I heard the play, he's like, I knew I had to get there. And I was like, all right. I mean, it wasn't like an accident, I mean, it was designed.
Right. And false. That's something, I keep saying this, pump the brakes a little bit. The worst thing that you can do is take a false positive from preseason games this early and make major moves on your roster. If you're sitting there and you're getting ready to drop a extra cornerback or an extra defensive tackle, or if you're getting ready to, drop some flyer that you had for another flyer back to get Young because he's on the waiver wire, sure. But don't make any big
Crash.
Don't go drop a sure linebacker 2 or a low linebacker 1 thinking, my God, he's the next Darius Leonard or in some cases Devin Bush. Don't think that he's, all of a sudden watch this play out. Don't go crashing your roster just yet,
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of crashing rosters, I will admit I made a splash move on my roster the other night when I was watching these games. Mac Wilson, you've heard rumblings about him. He's going to be good, or he's an Alabama linebacker. He's good in coverage, and I've kind of just rolled my eyes a little bit and said, he's second or third on the team at best, yada, yada, yada. Well, I saw something on Twitter last week about how he already has the interception record for Browns training camp, which is like, okay, whatever, it's training camp. The dude went out and had 3 targets thrown his direction on Thursday night, and he caught 2 interceptions, one for a 40-yard pick six. So I admitted that I was wrong in a way, I guess, and I shuffled some things around in the middle of that game, and I put Mac Wilson on my roster. I think that when you flash like that you're gonna, this is the preseason and all that, but it would be a disservice to your team to not get him on the field, I think. And it's just and this isn't something that's just like I just did because of that. It's been building for months, hearing people talk about it, hearing the beat reporters talk about it, hearing other people in our community, the IDP community, talk about it. And then I just saw it, and I was like, you know what? He's on my waivers right now. I know there's a couple of Browns fans in my league. I mean, there's Brown fans everywhere right now. And I did it. I shuffled some things around. I went and put him on my primary home league roster. And PFF gave him a 97.7 grade. Like I said, 2 interceptions on 3 targets, a pick six. That's big play. And I mean, this is on minimal snaps. I think that Schobert and Kirksey might be
worried.
Fighting for jobs with him and Taki because, I mean, these guys were wreckers in college, and they're wrecking right now. And I'm only hearing good things. So I went out and got them. Like you said, the cautionary tale, don't make big splash plays. I did it. I don't have any regrets about it yet. And I think that I don't know. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I think he's going to be at the very least serviceable this season. So that
good
was
stuff.
Another rookie linebacker. We opened with Bush, so I figured, we'd talk about him real quick. I don't really have any other major news or anything written down that I took away from those games. I tweeted a couple of little things here and there during the games. I was very excited on the offensive side of the ball. I was excited on the defensive side of the ball. I'm just happy football's back overall. I get to go to work here in a little bit and come home and watch football. There was football on last night. There was football on Thursday night. I mean, I don't care how good or bad it is. It's so nice to just
watch some people get hit.
Yes, it's so nice to just watch, just to watch the beauty of the game, something we've been lacking the last few months as we've just, stared at box scores and run over numbers and, split the hairs, shall we say. So,
Well, I think we ought to probably bring up the fact before we take off is the Rashaan Evans.
Yep. Sorry, that was the other thing I was going to bring up. Yeah, we got some depth chart stuff, and you were going to talk about some linebackers there. So go ahead, I guess.
Well, with Rashaan Evans, it actually came out they have him penciled in over Woodyard. This should have, in my opinion, been some writing on the wall. Woodyard's been good for years. Whether it was productive by default or not, he actually probably got better with age. But, I mean, they spent a nice amount on Rashaan Evans, and I believe he's an Alabama product maybe. He was brought in last year, played sparingly until towards the end of the season. And, I was kind of hinting to this earlier in the offseason that Woodyard could be kind of pushed aside to get Evans in there now after a year of development. So we definitely need to keep an eye on this. What the scary part would be is if it's some type of rotation in the end with Woodyard. You can be penciled in the starter all you want. Woodward was last year, but he still stepped off the field here and there to get Evans in. So definitely something to keep in mind is I think Jaylen Brown would be your main linebacker to target. If you can get Rashaan Evans, I don't know, a little bit later, I do think that, especially in Dynasty, that I would jump on Evans before I'd ever jump on Woodyard for the fact of Woodyard's age.
Oh, yeah.
But it is risky business if you're in a one-year redraft here on who's going to end up actually having the most snaps. So, Woodyard's one of those longtime veterans. He doesn't need to be playing all the time. So I do think that Evans ends up with the most of the snap counts.
Yeah, I think you're right there too. I mean, they, like you said, he was drafted last year. Guys age out. I mean, it's just, these are facts. They age out. They need more money. They need less play time than you get somebody else. So I think Rashaan Evans has a shot to be, kind of like you said, somebody that could be a full-time starter. Don't count on it, but later in drafts, he's definitely an awesome linebacker to put on your bench.
Right.
And maybe you got something, maybe you don't. It looks like you might, though.
I believe that in that defense that he would probably be playing the Mike or Mac role, which is the main tackle or the main run stopper, getting the tackles, not taking anything away from Jaylen Brown, but Jaylen Brown's kind of more of a coverage guy. So I don't think Evans has those same traits. So Evans could eventually be the guy that we want to own for Tennessee.
Yeah. And then there was also a Giants linebacker you wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah. This Ty Davis, he apparently he was also penciled in over BJ Goodson, which has never really stood up and lived up to his draft hype from a few years ago. They ended up bringing in a longtime journeyman Ogletree last year, and Goodson was giving up towards the last half of the year. He was giving up a lot of his snaps to Davis because of his lack of coverage skills, basically. Well, now they have Ty Davis actually in there with Ogletree as a starter. Did him in a Giants dime drop a while back. He was included in it to keep an eye on. And just another guy that we're going to keep an eye on this whole situation. I don't know if Ty Davis is that good or if Goodson's just finally just fell off the map up there with the Giants. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on that for everybody.
Yep. Yeah, that's I don't really have anything to add there. I think you kind of put it on it. Just monitor. That's if you get a good linebacker early in your drafts, and then you kind of stash your bench with some of these guys that are right now their roles are nebulous. He could be this or could be that, and then week 2 it turns out 2 of them are home run hits. I mean, you could be looking at that's the kind of guy that you want to. That you're going to be watching, late on your bench or even week 1 waivers, just watch, I mean, it's good to hear about them early here on our show or other places if you can. I haven't really heard them anywhere else. Gary's good about finding these guys that are working their way up as they're working their way up before other people do. Definitely.
And I want to mention, I actually ran into this. Sorry, Jordan. I want to mention this. That is one of the things that I like to do, and it's one thing that I've had a lot of success in doing. And unfortunately, there's been some people that I have talked to or has asked advice, and they hear me talking about these guys, and then the next thing I know, they're telling me, well, this is my linebackers. And then they name me off like 3 or 4 of these guys that they're on the radar. But they aren't your solid Bobby Wagner's, Deion Jones's, Luke Kuechly's and stuff. And the first thing I tell them is, well, where's your studs?
Anchor.
And
yeah, where's your anchor?
Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, well, this is who you're suggesting. I said, no, well, you got to understand. I come from a perspective where I try to find later round values or sleepers or flyers or whatever they are.
To pair
But your
with.
main anchors have to be these studs that are going to get the job done.
Yep. You got to get one or two of them.
Right. Because if not, then you're sitting there. What happens if these guys don't work out? What happens if they aren't up to par?
Yep.
So,
that's not a good situation to be in any position. Wide receiver, running back, linebacker, D line.
Right.
Get somebody, even if it's somebody you don't like. Get somebody that is going to produce. Somebody that is going to give you a baseline. That's going to give your team a heartbeat. Exactly. Yeah. Right. And then stock up on these guys that could be moonshots. This guy's going to be great this year. That's good. Who do you have that was great last year and the year before that you can throw in there next to this guy? So right. I've had trouble the last several years playing fantasy because I've gotten caught up in the value argument. Well, if I punt the position, this guy is locked in for snaps, or this guy's going to get this role. And I've drafted teams where I've just value drafted is what I call it, and I end up with these teams that end up not coming through because I'm walking over known commodities. That's what I made a little chart for myself a year or two ago, and the very top of the chart is known commodities. In all decision making, the first thing and the most important thing is a known commodity. Have they done it before? Do they have the same coach? Are they on the same system? I will take that 10 times out of 10 now after burning myself over, the moonshot of a guy like Mac Wilson. And I picked up Mac Wilson because I have a team that is secure. I have Roquan Smith, I have Devin Bush, I have Miles Jack. I have guys at linebacker that I know are going to be on the field. So I can shuffle some things around and go get Mac. And if he does hit, now I can move, him off the hype or a Roquan Smith for maybe a second-round pick and a good player next year. Just don't bank on it, but always be watching the market, like you said. Yeah. And make sure you stack your team, like you said, with an anchor, with a cornerstone. Get somebody that's going to hold you down if this guy just completely pisses off. So
Right. These are all luxuries.
Exactly.
Just like what I call rookies. They're luxuries if they work out. And, I learned that lesson that you just spoke about. I learned it 15, 20 years ago, whatever, when I went through the same process and learning IDP. And you've got to fill your starting lineup with anchors and then look at these fellas. If you start reaching early, you could end up really, you'll never recover.
You hamstring yourself. And then when you go trade and you're trying to trade, well, this guy's going to be so good. And people are like, yeah, you say that. He isn't that good. And you're the only one that bought in. It's not a good place to be.
And you brought up another fact that you sit there and say these guys do start putting up good numbers that you happen to get a flyer on and they work out. Then you go trade those names and you improve another area of your team and you still have that IDP production to or near it to secure your team and go for the playoffs.
Yeah, the overall team gets a boost even if you can get rid of one or two. Yeah, it's all about management. People are like, oh, fantasy football is all luck. Right. This is true to a degree. A week to week, you don't know what a player is going to put out there. But you, the owner, or the manager, or the person who decides who's on your team and who plays.
Yep. And it might be every given Sunday, but still
you can stack the cards in your favor, or you can you can literally go out there and play Russian roulette. It's your choice. Right. There's a bit of chance in all of these, but some have a lot more chance than others. So.
Right. And it's exactly why, doing, like I said, you don't hear me repeating and we do on the pod. We'll talk about these players and the stuff, but I reach and I look and I try to get deep. I try to find it. And that's why I chose the name Tipster. It's just tips. Tips. It did happen to work out. I don't claim to be the knowledgeable guru. Everybody knows who Roquan Smith is, Van Der Esch, Leonard, all these guys, and it's these deeper ones that you can get a week off the waiver wire before everybody else even knew anything about them, that you come out ahead, and
that changes your whole team makeup, and that opens up so many doors for you.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just information is power. Knowledge is power. If you're on somebody 1 week before they break out, guess what? When they break out and everybody's running to the waiver wire to find them,
there's like, damn, he's on that roster.
Oh, he's on that jackass that's always got everybody before me's team.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, I gotta get wrapping up here personally. I think we covered pretty much everything we wanted to. So
right. Hopefully a little bit more exciting next week. The third week, but this is still preseason, so we're limited on what we have to actually discuss in big news. So it was a good program, Jordan. You laid out a lot of good, knowledgeable shit for the listeners, and I appreciate it. And I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye and let you do your thing, and Steve, take us away. So everybody have a good second, third week preseason next week, and enjoy the games and pump those brakes, people. Let's not go crazy.
Yep. Yeah, I guess I'll say bye. Like I said, go follow us all on Twitter, Dynasty Chef. He's back there behind the scenes producing. He's rocking and rolling. We love him to death. Gary, follow him. The OG Tipster, give me a follow. 50 Shades of Drunk. We tweet good stuff. We tweet funny stuff. Sometimes we tweet content. Sometimes it's just us shooting the shit. But, that's where you're going to get your edge, is following trends and following people. So we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And I guess we'll be on live tomorrow with Dan, Seahawks Dan, from IDP Nation. So if you're listening to this before Sunday morning, hop on tomorrow, shoot us some questions, and we'll chop it up with you guys tomorrow, I guess. Enjoy the games today. And that's all for me. So
bye.
Yep. See you later.